You're getting ready to hear the podcast you didn't know that you needed, but eventually you will understand why you need it. This is Tales from the Pails.
All right. Well, hey, welcome back. We are still here in Charlotte, North Carolina at the NFMT East, and we are excited to have a guest today, Miss Cali Sartor, Vice President of Marketing at Spartan Chemical Company. Cali, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Jerred.
Yeah.
And Bucky.
Yeah.
Cali, we wanted to kind of talk to you about a couple different things. You and Bucky did a talk here about labor savings, right?
Yeah, we did.
Standing room only.
Standing room only audience. It was
Bucky,
great.
why don't you talk a little bit about that and then talk to Cali and ask her about.
So we had an opportunity to speak on Tuesday at 1 o'clock here at the event. And we, the topic of the conversation was labor savings and being more efficient. And so Cali and I presented. It was a great presentation. I want to say the best presentation.
By far.
But let's dig a little bit into that, Cali. So, you know, we obviously talked about a new product of ours, Simplifill.
Yeah.
And so if you want to just kind of touch on what we talked about on that presentation, that'd be great.
Sure. Yeah. So as you guys know, but the audience may not be aware, we did a third-party study with ISSA to validate our claims that Simplifill provides labor savings. Because what Jerred and Bucky have been telling me, Frank Trevisani, for years, is the single biggest cost for BSCs is labor.
Correct.
Absolutely.
And we've been able to validate that here over the course of the few days that we've been here and talking to customers and BSCs. And basically, we just outlined the findings of that study, which are real hard quantitative costs that they can, realize if they implement a Simplifill program.
Yeah. And what was really interesting is as we were kind of going through this and we got some questions, it's all the unknowns too, and the what ifs and the different variables that the study doesn't account for, right?
Right.
So one of the things where we're talking about, where wall mount units and where they're spaced through a campus, a 12 building campus, and some buildings might not be large enough for wall mount. And so it talked about the efficiencies of Simplifill. But the interesting thing is when that porter is changing that mop water and having to go back to the wall mount unit, who knows, exactly what's going to happen from them going to the closet and coming back. Someone could ask them to do something else. They could get sidetracked. So there's
they
all
watch an episode of Tulsa King in the closet.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's all these other things that aren't factored into it. So it's just really interesting getting feedback from the audience and just kind of starting conversation with that.
Yeah, agree.
And I got to say, Cali is a fellow Italian like myself, so I like the fact that she's already referenced Frank Trevisani and Tulsa King. Let's just get that out.
Let's just say Ohio State's on deck.
And we are extremely excited.
Very excited
to have the one and only Michael Fitz,
Thank you.
Chief Commercial Officer for 4M Building Solutions, right?
That's correct.
All right. Well, listen, we are super excited. You may have seen him before. He has been on our panel for our BSC seminar. He spoke at multiple BSCAI ISSA events. The one and only, Mr. Michael Fitz.
Thank you.
Pleasure having you, sir.
Thank you. It's good having friends introduce you like that.
So,
right.
Fitz, tell me, you got a new role with 4M.
I do.
You want to kind of walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, so I've been with 4M about 9 years post the Marine Corps, and was an ops for 8 of those. And then last year I came over to be our Chief Commercial Officer.
Okay.
Essentially help grow our sales and marketing side of the business and really just kind of expand what we were already doing successfully.
So with this new role, I'm sure you've looked for new talent for your company.
Yes.
What are a few things that kind of jump at you when you've got candidates? I'm sure you get tons of resumes for the positions you all post. What are a few things that people that are in sales, they're trying to work for 4M, that resume comes across your desk? What are some things you look for?
2 things, and they're kind of simple, and let's keep it simple. Strong work ethic and the memory of a goldfish.
Memory of a goldfish.
Yeah, right. I'm stealing the line from Ted Laszlo, like everybody else knows, right? But you have to have a work ethic, and then you cannot. And we talk about this in quarterbacks, by the way. I went to Ohio State over here. You got to forget the no. I mean, you're going to run into 100 no's to get to the yes, and you just got to have a short memory.
So here, let me bring this up because I think this is a very interesting part of it. Because when I look to hire individuals as well, there's two things that I always look for. And the reason why I'm going to bring this up is I look for either athletic, right? Athletics, if they were a college athlete or high school athlete, especially college athlete, or if they were military. And the reason being is because, like what you said, work ethic. And you're a perfect example of that. And that's what I find very interesting about how you've escalated your role and how you've come through this industry, because you had no industry background when you got into this, right? You had mentioned you were military. And it's your work ethic, I think your drive, you're willing to always want to win, right? And to be able to work with a team, understand how to accomplish goals and not have setbacks and be able to overcome those setbacks. So I think you're a perfect example of that. So how do you teach your team that?
Well, it's interesting. It's kind of like, I think, and thank you for that, brother. I think the truth is when it comes to looking, so the reason why I just use work ethic is because it usually comes with a character base, right? It comes with kind of self-accountability, integrity. There are certain fundamentals or tenets that they have to carry naturally. You said most of them. I just kind of summarize it in a single thing. But one of the things I think is really brilliant is that a lot of people think that you're like, there's a big argument. Are you born a leader or are you made a leader? I've had that. It's like, I mean, everybody around right now is going, yeah, that's a great argument. So, you can decide which side you're on. The truth is what I found on the battlefield, it's really a hybrid. You have to have certain inalienable kind of like characteristics of yourself, and those are them. Most of the time you've been brought up with those, whether you played a lot of sports or you're in the military, but there's a disciplined approach to it. You can summarize it in commitment, consistency, and being disciplined. In the end, sales is a process. Okay. So to that point, it's going to manifest itself in a work ethic to stay on top of things. I love like the David Goggins thing, like where it's like, we can't cuss on here, but it's like, what do you do in the morning? You get up and run. When you get up and you don't want to, you go look in the mirror and you say some nasty things to yourself to go out and run. That's what you have to do as a salesperson. So you're always kind of looking for those things, but no one is perfect. In the Marine Corps, we talk a lot about know thyself and seek self-improvement. We all have areas that we can improve. I'm at the front of the line for my team with that. So where can you practice? Where can you focus? You can get education and training and learning what really matters. A lot of times, most training programs say control what you can control. We focus on everything we can't control, but we don't focus on where we can.
Yeah.
Right. And so you can teach mechanics. And by the way, how many of us are parents here? I know, I've met your children, I've met your wives. So the reality is you teach your children core principles and character. Adult learning, just when you turn 18, doesn't mean you stop learning how to be a better person.
Yeah.
One of the best things ever, and just remember this, I will say this about leadership and developing teams and all that kind of stuff. Better people make better leaders. Better people make better employees. Invest in your people, give them time, and invest in them around three things: their personal goals, their professional goals, and honestly, their passions, because everyone's got something else other than work. And when you invest in those things, they go a long ways for it.
Attanasio, and one of our guests on this episode is going to be Trey Robinson, a regional manager for Spartan Chemical, and I'd like to say a friend of mine.
I appreciate that. We'd all like to say a friend of ours. That's what we like to say about Trey. But what we always want to do is when we have somebody on the show is we want to ask them, right? We've all had these crazy stories in the industry. Is Trey, give us a good tales from the Pail. Give us a story that one that you can share with us that we can put on our podcast.
Yeah, so we do a lot of business in corrections, and anytime you do business with corrections facilities, you don't really know what you're going to get into. So one of my favorite stories is I had a appointment set up for 9 o'clock in the morning. We checked the day before. Appointment was still on, show up at 9 o'clock. And when I asked for my contact, the contact that I was talking to said he no longer works here. And I was like, interesting, like I just talked to him yesterday. Well, apparently he had helped an inmate escape that day, and he was locked up in a holding cell. And so my meeting had gotten changed very quickly. I did not get to meet with him, nor did I ever again. But yeah, so you never really know what you're going to get in this industry, especially in the correction side.
Right. So there you go. So there's a very good.
That's a tail from the pail correction efficiency.